Every year on our wedding anniversary, my wife brings a man home. This year was our 7th anniversary dinner, and she brought home a young man dressed in very little. Since he didn't have any suitable clothes, you gave him your suit to wear. You can also give him the watch I gave you last time. As for shoes, the leather shoes you're wearing now are fine. She continued, he's still young and doesn't understand many things. You should pay more attention to him, especially in pleasing me. Everyone was waiting to see my awkward reaction. I said exactly what they wanted me to say, that I wanted to divorce my wife. My wife looked down on me with a contemptuous smile and mocked me. Oliver, when have you ever said you didn't want to divorce? Those words were almost unbearable to hear. It was so pointless, even worse than your performance in bed. She glanced around and shouted, if you dare to divorce me, I'll give you 100 million. The scene suddenly became lively, with everyone laughing, thinking I had no idea what I was doing. They didn't know this was the 200th time I'd mentioned divorce. But this time, I wasn't joking. Everyone was watching me. Even the boy beside her was covering his mouth and laughing. The bets are on. I bet he can't walk out that door. If he does, he'll back down. I'm betting 1 million that he won't leave. I'm so entangled with this 300,000. Every wedding anniversary, he uses this to threaten me. Such an old trick. I sighed helplessly, cursing myself for being so weak. After 7 years, I've finally decided to leave Sophia. I've had enough. A cold voice rang out from the crowd, and people around her tried to stop her from acting impulsively. I looked in the direction of the voice but didn't see her. Sophia, I'll send the divorce agreement to your company. Make sure you sign for it. I've mentioned wanting a divorce many times before, but this time we're finally talking about the divorce agreement. Sophia straightened up, her eyes filled with contempt. I chose to ignore her, bent down, took off my leather shoes and placed them by the feet of the boy named Liam. Liam was 20 years old and very handsome. His shoes were a bit tight, but they'd feel more comfortable after wearing them for a while. The suit and accessories Sophia mentioned. I'll have Uncle John bring them to you. There are 20 more boys ahead. If you have any questions, ask them. They all live on the 2nd floor. Your room is the last one on the right. After 7 years of marriage, Sophia has brought home quite a few men, almost enough to form a group. She has collected all sorts of things in various styles. People outside say she's raising a group of young men. Unfortunately, I didn't have the chance to be one of them. I casually tapped the shoe sole and stood up, walking toward the front door barefoot. Before I could step out the door, a force pulled me back from behind. Oliver, if you want to leave, just do it. Don't try to escape. Every single thing on your body was bought with my money. My bare feet felt like they were stepping on ice, extremely cold, and I could barely breathe. Do you want me to strip naked? Sophia raised her chin slightly, her eyes mischievous, as if she wanted me to expose myself completely. When your family went bankrupt, didn't your father send you here to ask for help? The situation is the same now. If you want to leave, just go. Are you regretting it now? All right, kneel down and put his shoes on properly. And I'll pretend I didn't see anything. The guests behind Sophia were all laughing uncontrollably. Back then, shortly after Sophia and I got engaged, my family went bankrupt. My mother couldn't bear the blow and chose to commit suicide. She's still in a coma. My father feared the Johnson family would abandon us, so he drugged Sophia and me, then deliberately made the situation seem dire to force the Johnson family into agreeing to let us get married. From that day on, I could no longer hold my head high in the Johnson family. And the pure love Sophia and I once shared is completely gone. In Sophia's eyes, my father used her reputation to threaten her into marrying me. She hates both me and my father. On our wedding night, she brought a man home to humiliate me. In front of me, she acted very intimate with him, and it was even I who helped him remove the condom and put it on. Afterward, the place was in complete chaos, and I had to clean it up myself, bending over repeatedly. I endured such a life for 7 long years. Now, I can't endure another day. I began to undress. Before anyone could react, I had already unbuttoned my suit jacket. It was deep winter and the hall was very warm. I stood at the door, the cold wind blowing into my pant legs, making the skin on my ankles feel tight. I started unbuttoning my shirt, the collar opening, exposing the contours of my chest and shoulders. A few suppressed gasps echoed through the crowd, and some timid women turned away. But more women showed obvious interest. Only Sophia, her beautiful eyes fixed on me, her red lips pressed into a straight line. Only the slight tremble of her designer handbag revealed any hint of unusual emotion. After the shirt came off, I was almost bare-chested, unable to resist the gaze of everyone on me. Sophia squeezed her bag tightly, then threw it into the boy's RMTKS. She quickly picked up the suit jacket from the ground and threw it over me. "Oliver, I think you really need to think this through," she said angrily, her gaze sweeping the room, cold enough to give anyone goosebumps. "Don't look at me. What happened here today, if anyone dares to spread a single word, don't blame me." Sophia rarely lost her temper, especially in public. The people present were all smart. They immediately understood the situation and quickly left in unison. The 20 young men she had brought back earlier quietly returned upstairs, except for the boy named Liam, who remained where he was. I asked my wife Sophia, "Are you satisfied now? Can I leave now?" I looked straight into her eyes, but my heart was torn. I've shed enough tears for this woman. I don't want to feel sorry for her anymore. Oliver, stop playing these games in front of me. It makes me uncomfortable. Sophia clearly didn't believe my decision. Her tone was filled with contempt, and she coldly warned me not to tarnish the Johnson family's reputation. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice calm, and said, "Sophia, this time I really want a divorce." Sophia seemed to find this statement particularly amusing. She suddenly stepped forward and slapped me across the face. "Do you really want a divorce? What do you plan to do? Do you know who will have to cover your mother's hospital bills every day? Can you afford your father's expensive teas, wines, and antique jade?" Her tone was filled with mockery. "Oliver, do you believe that, if I just nod, the first person begging me not to divorce you will be your father?" Sophia's hatred for me and my mother had reached a point where she no longer bothered to hide it. She was furious about the underhanded methods my father had used back then, and even more disappointed in my silence and inaction at the time. "Although if your father hadn't resorted to those dishonorable methods, I would still be with you and support the Johnson family through this crisis. But you chose a method I despise. You treated me like a bargaining chip." Her words stabbed me in the heart. "Oliver, you're the one who destroyed everything between us." No matter how I explained, she just ignored me, refusing to believe a word. Seeing me silent, Sophia's brows furrowed. She instructed him to put on his shoes. "You've been doing this kind of menial work for 7 years. You should be an expert by now in those 7 years." Sophia never allowed me to participate in Johnson Group's operations or do any work at the company, besides acting as a full-time housekeeper to tend to her every need. I also had to manage the affairs of the 20 young men she brought home, these humiliating and emotionally tormenting tasks. Whether I did them willingly or reluctantly, I've done too many of them, to the point where I've begun to despise myself. But now, I just want to escape this situation as soon as possible. So I chose to obey once again and silently put the shoes on the boy. Perhaps my obedience made her feel bored, losing interest in toying with me. Sophia's face showed a hint of impatience, looking angry, and she called the bodyguard to drag me into her bedroom. In front of me, she began to unbuckle Liam's belt and pull down his pants. This disgusting scene was one I had witnessed countless times before. Sometimes, Sophia even made me personally guide those young boys. Like before, I mechanically tore open a condom wrapper, preparing to hand it to them. But this time, Sophia suddenly waved her hand, knocking my hand away. "Not this time. I silently withdrew my hand and clenched it into a fist. Sophia continued her actions on the boy, occasionally glancing up at me. I didn't look at her, feeling a void inside, even finding it tiring to glance at her. My indifference seemed to annoy Sophia again. She suddenly stood up, pushed me into the bathroom next door and locked the door behind her. That night, the wind and snow raged outside, and the sounds coming from the bedroom were particularly jarring. I sat helplessly on the toilet, my fingers clutching my hair, listening all night long in a daze. A loud, piercing ringtone woke me up. "Hello, is this Oliver? Your father has been in a car accident and is currently undergoing emergency treatment at the City People's Hospital. Please come immediately." My heart tightened instantly. "Sophia!" I started pounding on the door, trying to drown out the noise outside. Sophia opened the door wearing a beautiful lace nightgown, her face looking uneasy. Liam was tightly by her side, unable to leave. "What happened?" she asked anxiously. "My dad was in a car accident. I have to go to the hospital right away." I grabbed her hand and knelt down, tears streaming down my face. "Brother, couldn't you think before speaking? It's 3 in the morning and there's a blizzard outside. Normal people stay home. How could a car drive into your father's bedroom?" Liam said with a mocking smile. Sophia laughed along and asked Oliver, "Can you really come up with such an excuse now? What's going on? Can't you stand the noise we're making outside?" She finished speaking and locked the door again. No matter how hard I knocked, the laughter inside sounded even louder. In desperation, I picked up a nearby chair and smashed the bathroom window, then climbed out. Sharp glass shards cut my arm, and blood flowed continuously. In the middle of the night, with heavy snow falling, there were no taxis outside. I stumbled through the snow, my mind in turmoil, leaving a trail of bright red behind me. Suddenly, I heard 2 soft sounds, and a black Cayenne slowly pulled up beside me. "Get in." The car was dimly lit, and the woman driving didn't turn around. I kept saying thank you, but she didn't say a word. As we approached the hospital, she finally said, "Oliver, besides Sophia, you actually have other options. Think it over and come find me." She handed me a shiny business card and I took it without thinking. But at that moment, my mind was completely occupied with my father's affairs. So I stuffed the card into my pocket without looking at it closely. I stumbled into the emergency room, seeing 2 nurses pushing a stretcher covered with a white sheet out of the operating room. "Where are Oliver's family? He's already passed away, and his son hasn't come yet. It's truly heartbreaking." Their whispered conversation felt like knives piercing my heart. I rushed over and tremblingly pulled back the white sheet. That face, already weathered by time, was now covered in scars. Over the past 7 years, I had harbored nothing but hatred for him in my heart. I had even considered extreme measures, thinking it would be better for the entire family to end it altogether. But now, seeing him lying there before me, cold and lifeless, I felt as though my heart was being torn apart. There weren't many relatives in the family, so the funeral was simple. I stayed by my mother's bedside for a while, mentioned my father's passing and shared some of my thoughts. In the end, seeing my mother's unresponsive expression, I felt deeply saddened. "Mom, I really can't go on anymore." The next morning, my father's body was cremated. I brought the urn back to that so-called home, along with a divorce agreement. When I opened the door, I saw Sophia sitting at the dining table with 20 young men, laughing and chatting. "Sign here," I said coldly, tossing the divorce agreement onto the table. Sophia's expression changed instantly. "Are you really doing this because of him? You're getting bolder and bolder." I hugged the urn in my arms and sighed. "Sophia, let's just call it quits. I no longer love you." In the past, I would argue with Sophia, but I had never truly hit her. I once pointed at her nose and asked her if the vows she made to love me were just a joke. I had always clung to a sliver of hope that she would forgive me and that we could maintain this marriage. She said she liked the wild side of me, so I tried to please her in bed. She said she liked the obedient side of me, so I wore the shirts she liked to please her. But later, she brought one man after another home, and my feelings completely changed. All those efforts to please her ended up being my humiliation, becoming the excuses she used to mock me. Bro, what's going on here? Liam bent down to pick up the business card I dropped and read the name on it. Emily. It was her, Emily. Sophia's rival since childhood, someone who had never met her before. Sophia's face turned pale, and then she slapped me hard across the face. You said you didn't love me anymore. Is it because you've been fooling around with someone else? Do you know what kind of person Emily is? My ears rang, and I could barely stand. The urn slipped from my hands, shattering into pieces with ashes scattering everywhere. I stood there, completely at a loss. I instinctively knelt down, trying to gather the powder back, but there was nothing between my fingers. I couldn't hold onto anything. Liam grabbed the lemonade on the table and poured it onto the ground. The other men followed suit. The powder mixed with the liquid, forming a sticky, gooey mess. Stop, finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed the chair beside me and threw it at Liam. Sophia couldn't stop me in time, and Liam was already holding his head and lying on the ground. He said in pain, "Sister, it hurts so much. Someone called an ambulance." Sophia grabbed my collar and dragged me to the hospital. "If anything happens to him, you won't get off easy." That day, I was forced to kneel by Liam's hospital bed and apologize repeatedly. Only when my forehead started bleeding did Sophia stop, coldly saying, "You brought this upon yourself." For the next few days, I stayed in my father's hospital room. Dare not see anyone. "Hey, so you're here. Thanks for that punch earlier. Now Sophia is being really nice to me. Is that your father? How can he just lie there like that?" Liam was gloating, his tone filled with pride. He walked to the bedside, fiddling with my father's oxygen tube, pretending to be curious about what it was. "Don't touch that," I shouted, pushing him away. Liam covered his head, looking uncomfortable, stumbled back a few steps, and his eyes flashed with displeasure. The next moment, he suddenly charged forward, pulled out my father's oxygen tube and waved it triumphantly in his hand. "You think Sophia will blame me for this?" No sooner had he finished speaking than Sophia walked in. Seeing the scene before her, she paused for a moment, her gaze shifting between me and Liam. After a moment of silence, she said, "Liam is still young and doesn't understand much. Your father's condition can't be sustained much longer anyway. It's better for him to be released sooner. I'll give your mother more money afterward." The monitor's alarm sounded, announcing my father's passing. I stood there, feeling immense pain, yet also a hint of relief. Sophia didn't even glance at me as she embraced Liam and left. I felt completely drained, collapsing onto the ground and repeatedly whispering, "I'm sorry," to my father's cold body. But in this world, who could possibly deserve me? I trembled as I took out the business card and dialed the number. "Emily, come pick me up tonight." Then, I went through the same cremation process again. This time, I placed my father's ashes on the altar at the funeral home. When I returned to the Johnson family, Sophia hadn't come back yet. Those men surrounded me, chattering about how angry Sophia was, as if I were in trouble. I pretended not to hear them, but they kept asking if I was really going to divorce her. I didn't bother responding and pushed open my bedroom door. "Take whatever you want." As soon as I finished speaking, the group rushed in like starving wolves, and the room was quickly emptied of everything. Only a few postcards that Sophia and I had collected when we were children fell to the ground, unnoticed. I locked myself in my room and didn't come out until it was dark. During this time, Sophia had Uncle John come to inquire about the situation, but I only told Uncle John to hand her the divorce agreement. "Here we go again, divorce. Oliver, can't you just be quiet?" Sophia coldly tore the divorce agreement into pieces. "Don't give him anything to eat. Let's see how long he can last before we consider feeding him." Sophia always thought my divorce was just for show, that I was just venting my anger when I said I didn't love her. But love really does fade over time. After 7 years, I no longer have the ability to love. Now that I have nothing left to hold on to, what else is there to let go of? That night, I climbed out the window and got into Emily's car. The next morning, Sophia woke up to find no one in the kitchen preparing breakfast. There was no hand-ground coffee on the table, and her clothes weren't ironed in the closet. Sophia stormed upstairs, violently pushed open my bedroom door, only to find it empty. She saw several scattered Polaroid postcards on the floor and grew panicked. "Uncle John, where is Oliver?" Uncle John heard the commotion and rushed over, finding the empty room. He shook his head in confusion. "I'll call his family right now." Uncle John was a bit surprised and cautiously reminded her, "Miss Sophia, didn't Oliver's father just pass away? He was cremated yesterday." Sophia recalled the look of sadness on my face when I held the urn, and her heart tightened. She bent down, trembling, and picked up the postcard I had written by hand. Her eyes were vacant, as if she had lost all her vitality in an instant, leaving only an empty shell. In the past 7 years, she had never imagined that he would truly leave her life completely. The Polaroid postcard in her palm was taken when they were 18, on the streets of New York. At that time, they had just started dating, and she looked a bit shy in the photo. In the end, he noticed her nervousness and gently placed his hand on her shoulder. Sophia gently wiped the dust off the postcard, trying to smooth out the creases, but no matter what she did, she couldn't get them flat. "Uncle John has prepared crystal shrimp dumplings today. Let's hurry downstairs and grab a good spot. That custom-made suit looks great on you. It's definitely the real thing she gave you. Those cufflinks are really unique. Those leather shoes don't look cheap either." The sound of several men talking loudly came from outside the door, and Sophia frowned and looked out. She immediately saw Liam wearing a cashmere coat, which she had specially ordered from Milan and given to Oliver. It was their anniversary gift. She stopped in her tracks. Sophia suddenly rushed out of the room and shouted sternly at everyone. Her gaze swept across the room, and she saw that the gifts she had given Oliver were scattered among the men, including ties, jackets, watches, and leather shoes. One of the men was even wearing the wedding ring she had given to me. "How dare you wear his clothes? Take it off immediately. Who gave you that ring on your hand? Give me back everything that doesn't belong to you." Sophia quickly looked at the men in front of her, but couldn't remember their names or faces. She didn't even recognize their names. Usually, to make Sophia angry, they would be lenient with her demands. This was the first time they had seen her this angry. The men panicked and quickly took off the items, as they didn't belong to them. Liam, who was usually spoiled, muttered under his breath, unwilling to take off his watch. Sophia was furious and rushed forward, snatching the watch on Liam's wrist, which belonged to Oliver, out of his hands. "You have 5 minutes to put everything you took from him back where it belongs." Sophia told Uncle John to keep an eye on them. She quickly went downstairs to check the surveillance footage. The security personnel pulled up the footage from a few days earlier for her to watch. In the footage, Sophia quickly spotted Oliver's frantic figure fleeing during the snowstorm. She saw Oliver get into Emily's car, not just once but multiple times. With Emily always driving, how infuriating. That woman shouldn't have been there that day. Sophia muttered under her breath before turning to go upstairs. As she reached the living room door, she heard several men chatting and laughing inside. In the past, when she saw Oliver surrounded by these men and dared not resist, she felt a secret sense of satisfaction. But now that Oliver was gone, she found the noise unbearable. Without Oliver, life feels so meaningless. At this time every day, he should be pouring us tea and preparing midnight snacks. "You're right, I do miss him a bit." Sophia stood outside the door, her expression cold, though she usually turned a blind eye, even indulging them a bit. But hearing these words with her own ears, each one felt like a knife cutting into her, reminding her of how she had driven Oliver away. "Uncle John, tell them to pack their things and get out immediately." Sophia suddenly shouted, startling the men in the living room, who all jumped to their feet. They instinctively apologized, promising not to gossip behind her back anymore. However, Sophia ignored them completely and ordered Uncle John to help them pack their belongings. At that moment, Liam, who had always been pampered, stepped in front of Sophia. "Even though Oliver has left, I am the one who loves my sister the most." Liam's face betrayed a hint of smugness, but he suddenly noticed that his friends behind him looked shocked. They hurried upstairs and, a few minutes later, emerged from the Johnson residence carrying their luggage. Liam was confused. Could his love not keep Sophia? Didn't his sister love hearing him say it? Why were they so panicked? Just then, the bodyguard Sophia had called pushed Liam against the wall. The pain in his back was intense, and Liam couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. While Sophia stood by indifferently, her first words were icy. "Uncle John, send him to Africa. The farther, the better." Such a simple statement revealed that this kind of situation was commonplace in the Johnson family. Liam didn't know that Oliver had always handled such matters for her in the past. Sophia hated hearing anyone say they loved her more than Oliver. When they first married, they had a child. Sophia couldn't accept that situation, so she went to the hospital and had an abortion. When Oliver asked her, though her face was pale, her eyes remained icy. She said, "Oliver, you don't deserve to have a child with me. I will never give birth to a child with your Johnson family blood." I find that utterly disappointing. Liam felt as confused as Oliver had back then. He knelt on the ground and pleaded, "Sister, didn't you say you loved me? You said you'd be the best to me. Why can't you let me stay?" Sophia turned to look at him, her eyes filled with contempt and mockery. "Like me? Do you even deserve that?" Liam looked into those cold eyes and felt a chill run down his spine, unable to stop himself from trembling. Sophia told Uncle John to take care of Liam, and then drove away herself. She had other more important matters to attend to. Uncle John sighed and urged Liam, who was still in a daze, to stay home and wait for someone to take him to the airport. After leaving Sophia's house, I felt physically and mentally exhausted and slept for several days. When I woke up, Emily was by my bedside. The early morning light shone on her hair, making it look gentle. I couldn't help but reach out to touch her, but I heard Emily whisper in her sleep, "Oliver, leave quickly, Oliver." I stopped my hand in midair. Was she calling me? Emily moved slightly, and I quickly withdrew my hand, closing my eyes and pretending to sleep. However, her slightly trembling eyelashes gave away my true state. Still not getting up. A woman's voice, lazy with the morning, sounded crisp. I couldn't help but smile, opening my eyes to see her gentle eyes. "Get up. I made your favorite fried chicken." Emily pulled me up and gently patted my shoulder. The smell of fried chicken reminded me of my younger days, when I used to eat it with Sophia at a street stall near school. Later, she wanted to stay in shape, so she wouldn't let me eat it anymore. Even when I suggested going to that street stall to eat fried chicken, she looked at me with a disdainful expression. It was as if she thought I liked unhealthy food. I sat at the table, looking at the fried chicken on the plate, picked up a piece and put it in my mouth. The familiar taste came flooding back. This taste reminded me of the fried chicken I ate outside the high school gate. Emily smiled and said mysteriously that it was a secret. I hummed and continued eating. Just as I lifted my head, I heard a loud crash. A car had crashed through the wall and into the yard. By the damaged wall, Sophia emerged from the car. "Emily, come out quickly." Some bodyguards blocked Sophia, but she screamed wildly like a madwoman. I realized Sophia had come for me. I didn't want Emily to be affected, so I stood up. But Emily grabbed my hand firmly and said she wanted to go with me. "Emily, you've always liked to compete with me since we were kids. And now you dare to compete with my husband." This was the first time I heard Sophia call me her husband. Over the years, she had only ever mentioned that man or said things that were even more uncomfortable. Thinking about it now, I felt a bit ironic. Following Emily, I saw Sophia being blocked by bodyguards in the courtyard, looking a bit out of control. A sudden pang of sadness washed over me. Oliver, as soon as Sophia saw me, her eyes welled up with tears. It reminded me of when we first started dating, both of us so young and inexperienced. Back then, she would blush easily, and if she felt wronged, she'd ask me with teary eyes if I still loved her. I would always patiently reassure her, never finding it annoying. But everything changed because of my father's actions. Sophia, you should go back. I don't plan to go with you. The mistakes my father made, I've atoned for over the past 7 years. It's time to put this behind us. From now on, we will have no further connection. Sophia's eyes filled with tears, brimming with pain and injustice. Oliver, I didn't know your mother had passed away. If I had known, I never would have treated you that way. Believe me, this time I truly realize I was wrong. Let's start over and live a good life. Okay, I've driven everyone else out of the house. Really, after that, you'll be the only man left in the house. Sophia dared not look me in the eye, her gaze shifting nervously as she spoke. I shook my head, took Emily's hand, looked down at Sophia and said calmly, Sophia, on the 7th anniversary, I mentioned divorce for the 200th time. From the first time I said it, I decided in my heart that I would end it after 200 times. Sophia, feelings fade over time. I no longer love you. The divorce agreement must be signed properly. After saying that, I turned and went back inside. But the pressure in my heart made me almost unable to stand. I no longer loved Sophia, but the pain of the past was still hard to forget. Sophia, overcome with emotion, rushed forward but was easily held back by Emily. She warned, if you dare to force your way in, I'll make the Johnson family pay the price. The Emily family was now a very famous top-tier aristocratic family in New York, far surpassing the Johnson family in status. Although the Johnson family is wealthy, they cannot compare to the Emily family, a prominent clan. Sophia has always regarded Emily as her greatest enemy, which is also one of the main reasons she dislikes her. Aren't you going to sign the divorce agreement? I have a way to make him have nothing to do with you. Emily's expression darkened as she leaned close to Sophia's ear and whispered a threat. I'm not sure how Sophia left afterward. I only knew that the outside had returned to calm. At night, Emily accompanied me to watch the stars. Looking at her familiar profile, I couldn't help but ask her, Emily, did we meet when we were children? Her eyes narrowed slightly as she turned to look at me and said, do you remember? I shook my head and only said it was just a feeling. Emily looked a bit disappointed, lowered her head, and began talking about her life before she was 10, saying that every summer vacation she spent in the countryside playing with me. What surprised me was that I had no recollection of any of these things. It's okay. We have plenty of time to create new memories together. Looking at Emily, that heavy feeling returned to my heart. Emily, I heard there's a surgery that can help people forget painful memories. Could you take me to try it? I want to start over with you as a completely new person. A month later, Emily and I held our engagement party. Many prominent figures attended the banquet, and Emily held my hand the entire time, introducing me to each guest. I had seen this suit before in Italy. There's only one in the world, and I never expected Emily to buy it and give it to her husband. I'm so embarrassed. I arrived a bit late. Emily playfully tugged at my arm, smiling and teasing that she'd always give in to me in the future. Oliver, a shrill female voice suddenly shattered the peaceful atmosphere of the engagement banquet. I turned around, looking at the woman who had suddenly appeared with a puzzled expression. She called my name, but I had no recollection of her, seeing her so agitated. I couldn't help but frown. Oliver, you're still my husband. How could you get engaged to someone else? Sophia, I advise you not to overreact. Emily stood in front of me, completely blocking my view of the woman. I peered through the gap and saw her beautiful face twisted in anger, looking somewhat terrifying. Seeing her so upset, I grew even more confused. What had I done wrong? Emily, he's my husband." Emily sneered and pointed at the display board in the banquet hall, saying, "Sophia, get it straight. His name isn't Oliver. His name is Oliver." Sophia then noticed that none of the name tags at the banquet had Oliver's name on them. It wasn't until Emily produced my identification that she finally understood. Emily had tampered with my identity. Oliver. Sophia reached out to grab me, but I instinctively dodged her, saying I didn't know her. Sophia's hand froze in midair. Her eyes filled with shock and pain. She said, "I'm Sophia. We've been together for over a decade. How could you not recognize me? Did Emily do something to you?" I shook my head, indicating I didn't recognize her and felt even more afraid of her. "You must still be angry with me, right? I kept your father's ashes. Take a look." Sophia pulled out a small box from her bag, containing some grayish-white powder that looked a bit dirty. I stared at the substance, feeling a headache coming on. Sophia caused quite a commotion at the banquet and even got into a fight with someone. Emily immediately had her escorted out, even as she was being led away. She kept shouting Oliver's name. That name sounded familiar. I didn't ask further, my instincts told me not to. The engagement party had ended and it was already late. Emily had a few friends to see off, so she asked me to wait inside. I sat bored in the corner when suddenly a figure appeared before me. I looked up and saw the woman named Sophia. She raised her hands, her face filled with fear and anxiety. I told her, "Don't be afraid, I won't hurt you. I want to tell you my name is Sophia." The woman suddenly pulled out a few postcards, an old diary with faded text and a phone, stuffing them into my arms. I looked down and saw the slightly wrinkled photos. The people in the photos were me and this woman named Sophia. Is this me and you? Could it be that the woman in front of me is really my wife? But why do I feel nothing when I look at her? I flipped through the yellow diary, which recorded the love story between me and Sophia 7 years ago. Every word revealed my deep love for Sophia and her thoughtful care for me. The sweetness between us back then seemed to spill off the pages. The phone's memo app was filled with memories of you and me. I felt a bit skeptical, but I unlocked the phone and scrolled through the memos one by one. They were all about Sophia. My heart suddenly tightened, and I felt a familiar discomfort. My fingers trembled slightly as I opened the draft folder in the Notes app. A deleted entry suddenly appeared, listing 20 men's names and their preferences. I froze, pointing at the entry and asking her. At that moment, Sophia's eyes darted away, looking uneasy. She pressed the delete button again. I asked Sophia, "We've been together for over a decade. Why do these records stop at 7 years ago? Have we really not been together for all these years?" Sophia spoke hesitantly, unsure of herself. I sighed and flipped to the last page of the diary, only to find that the space I had thought was blank was filled with my own farewell letter. Every word in the letter was heartbreaking, recounting all the pain I had endured from Sophia over the past 7 years. Over the past 7 years, everything Sophia had done to me was unbearable. Seeing those lines of text, tears streamed down my face. Those painful memories seemed to resurface before my eyes. "Sophia, is everything written here true?" I trembled as I picked up the diary, and Sophia's face turned as pale as paper. She opened her mouth to speak, but no words came out. "Perhaps I truly loved you once. Otherwise, how could I have endured such humiliation for 7 years and stayed by your side? But now, that love has vanished completely. Sophia, this is where we part ways." I wiped away my tears and stood up, but Sophia suddenly threw herself into my arms. "Oliver, don't leave me, please don't go. These past 7 years, I've truly realized I was wrong. I'll change everything." Sophia clung tightly to me, refusing to let me struggle. I tried to push her away, but she easily tore open my clothes. My heart sank as I saw someone approaching quickly. Emily swiftly pulled Sophia away and slapped her several times in anger. It wasn't until security arrived that they were separated. Emily's eyes blazed with anger as she sternly told Sophia. "Sophia, just wait. I'll make the Johnson family pay for this." I rushed forward to hug Emily, trying to comfort her. Emily also clung tightly to me. I gently stroked her hair and spoke softly to comfort her. "It's okay. She's gone now." After that engagement party, I never saw Sophia again. Shortly afterward, I heard that the Johnson family had disappeared from New York in a short period of time. There was no news about Sophia. Rumors spread throughout New York that the Johnson family's heir had resorted to any means to pursue his beloved, but no one knew who the mysterious man was. It was only said that he bore a resemblance to Sophia's ex-husband. From then on, there was no longer an Oliver in the world, only Oliver. This Oliver had no past pain and would never feel heartache again. He was the Oliver cherished and cared for by Emily. Years later, Emily and I had our own child. At our son's full moon banquet, I unexpectedly received a small blue suit and tie. The card simply read, 7 years. Looking at the exquisite little suit, my eyes suddenly grew moist. "Come over here. It's time for the family photo." Emily was smiling and waving at me. I turned around and threw the little suit and the card into the trash can beside me. To start a new life, one cannot be held back by the shadows of the past. People should look forward, right? Let's not dwell on the past.